There, a couple of days ago, he turned 70. Give a nice round of applause on him. Mr. Butch Patrick.
I know I'm old. Quit rubbing it in.
It's only a number. All right, I'm going to do my little round of questions here first, and then if you guys want to do some there, probably you could probably hear you, but if you want to come up so everybody can hear you, grab one of these mics here. So question number one, here we go. Butch Q&A. What have you been doing since you were in Springfield last, which is about a year ago?
Okay, well,
I hear you. I can actually just, can you hear me? If I shout, okay.
Well, I travel a lot anyway, and one of the things I really enjoy about coming to Springfield and being on Route 66 is when I was a kid, I was living in a little town called Geneseo before the Munsters with my grandmother. And I got the call, I flew out, and I never came back because in the 2-year period doing the Munsters, my grandma had moved out of Geneseo and went to another small town in Missouri. But, so coming back, I was here for the mile, the Springfield Mile motorcycle race. I was a Grand Marshal. I don't know how long ago that was, about 6 months ago, 7 months ago? Yep. Okay, so that was fun. So I've been in Springfield several times recently. But to answer your question, I moved to Conway. I was there about 5 years ago when the Munsters pinball machine came out. I was touring with the Stearns people, and I met a guy who lives there and had bought a machine and had an arcade, and he invited me down for a festival called Toad Suck Days. And I go, oh, I gotta go see what, imagine what a Toad Suck Day must be like in Arkansas. So I went down there and I liked it. It was, there was a lot of nice people there, one thing led to another. And I wound up going back for Toad Suck Days, and when I was there, I noticed some opportunities, one of which is this haunted house that I'm working with this year. And what I'm doing is I'm building a Munsters pavilion in his adjacent building that he uses for fireworks that stays vacant the rest of the year after July 4th. So we're working together on that. I always wanted to do that. There's another gentleman that's building a big kart complex, go-kart complex, 80-mile-an-hour rental carts. So it's like crazy fast. So there's a chance that I may be putting up something out there as well. But I travel. I do a lot of traveling. I do a lot of car shows. I do a lot of conventions. And I have a new pilot for a reality show, which is called Haunt Improvement, is a working title. And it's me and the gentleman that's building my haunted house, who is named Tom Devlin. He has the Monster Museum in Boulder City, Nevada. And we go around the country and we help haunt entrepreneurs who are in trouble to up their game and help them be successful. So that's kind of what keeps me busy right now. Plus, some personal appearances, like I said, buying and selling cars and this and that.
Who did you look up to the most on the Munsters cast?
Well, Fred Gwynn was 7 feet tall, so you figure it out. But actually, it was I wouldn't say I looked up to Fred. Fred taught me the most about acting. He was a very, very talented, and they were all talented, but Fred, for some reason, the father and son episodes that we had a lot of great scenes together, and he taught me a lot about the craft. So I enjoyed that a lot. But Al Lewis taught me the most about probably life, because he was very streetwise. And where Fred was Harvard and he was, Connecticut and New York, Al was vaudeville and circus folk and carny folk. So he was very much a different kind of knowledge and street smarts than Fred was. But it was a good balance between the two. And then you had Yvonne DiCarlo, who was a major movie star, serious golden age of Hollywood, who was my mom, and she was wonderful to be around. So I was blessed with several little slices of pie of knowledge from great people.
Well, if you ask my wife, I have the memorabilia museum in my house, and I want to know, where did the Bat and Wolfie end up?
The Woof Woof doll, I actually acquired it. I was doing an Ironside at Universal Studios about 8 years after the show went off the air, and the prop man, Eddie Keys, believe it or not, when he was on the Munsters, he was in his 80s. So 8 years later, I see him. I'm shocked that he's alive, number one, and then I'm shocked that he's working at 92 years old, and he comes up to me and he goes, "Don't go anywhere, I've got something, I've been holding this for you, you should have this." And he gave me the original Woof Woof doll to take home with me. And I hung it in a bay window at the beach, and it deteriorated from the sunshine, and it fell apart. And then I sold him to a gentleman who restored him, and then that's how we sold 97 dolls back in the 80s. But I do have 3 Woof Woof dolls right now, different variations of the original. And what was the other question?
Oh, the bat.
The bat? The big baseball bat, I never got that. I have a big baseball bat, but that's not the balsa wood that was in the show. So I have no idea where that went home. It probably went home with someone.
One thing I did, I looked up some of the history on you. You were not the first to play Eddie Munster. It was one guy, Happy Durman, played in the pilot, and then I guess he got fired. But because of your fangs, they liked you.
That's what I said.
The eye teeth, it didn't hurt. No, it's funny how I wound up being Eddie Munster, because it was absolutely not, but you know, it was by chance. It was absolutely happenstance. Number one, Bill Mooney, who you know as Will Robinson from Lost in Space, and you know, Twilight Zone episodes, and they wanted Bill Mooney. That was their first choice. Now, I'm not even in Hollywood. I'm living in Geneseo with my grandmother. Bill Mooney doesn't want to do it, didn't fit into his plans for whatever reason, so he says no. So they wind up doing a casting call with several hundred kids, and they finally get Happy Nate Durman to play Eddie. Now, they do a pilot that doesn't even have Yvonne DiCarlo in it. It has a woman named Joan Marshall, and the character's name was Phoebe, not Lily. So they do the pilot in color, even though the show is going to be black and white. They shoot the pilot in color. They show it to the network brass. The network brass says yes on the show, no on Mom and the kid. We got to change Mom and the kid. We don't like the dynamic. She looks too much like Morticia. We know that there's going to be an Addams Family show, and number 2, the kid isn't what, you know, we're not buying into the kid. So my agent, Mary Grady, caught wind of that, and she told them, if you're looking for a new Eddie, I've got the perfect kid for you. And they go, oh, we've looked at every kid in Hollywood. And she goes, that's the whole point. He's not in Hollywood. He's in Illinois right now with his grandparents. So they looked at some Real McCoy footage that I had done. I did 8 episodes of the last year of the Real McCoys, and they agreed to fly me out for a screen test with Yvonne DiCarlo. So I didn't even go on an interview. I went really, very unusual situation. Picked me up. My mom was living in D.C. at the time with my stepfather, the baseball player, who had been traded from the Angels to the Senators. So nobody was at home. Nobody's in California. My uncle picks me up at the airport, drives me to CBS Studio Center. I do the screen test with Yvonne. They say on the spot, make arrangements to report to work. Don't go back home. I don't have a home to go to. You know, nobody's here. So I moved in with my uncle, and we hired a woman to take me to work every day. And then once a month, I would fly back home to visit my mom in Washington, D.C., and that's kind of how it came. It was a really unusual situation.
Wow. 1983, you recorded a song. You remember, and can you sing any of it?
I will not sing it. I will not sing it, but I got one better. That was 1983. MTV came on the air in 81. We wanted to make rock videos, so we did Whatever Happened to Eddie. I wrote the lyrics. I'm a member of ASCAP, but I faked the bass and I faked singing. I am the original Munster Manili, and I am proud of it. But in 1972, we had Metro Media Records doing I.O.I.O. and I Want Sugar for Teeny Bop stuff to replace Bobby Sherman at Metro Media Records. And that went south because I could not sing, and I told them I couldn't sing up front. They said, don't worry about it, we'll overdub it, we'll fix it, and I just completed Lidsville, and they wanted a Teeny Bop type 16 magazine star. It didn't work out, but we had a whole lot of fun for a year.
Okay, who are the brave ones? Who's the first ones to either come up or you can just ask them a question? I'm sure he can hear you. Anybody? Oh, hello. I'm tired. Long day. Anybody have one? Raise your hand. Come over here.
This movie that you have here.
Okay, I'm a little, if you heard my car earlier, you'll know why I'm a little deaf.
Yeah. Where was it filmed, the indoor and the outdoor? And how many days did you actually work on the filming of it?
You said something about a front door to back door. Indoor, outdoor.
No.
Indoor, outdoor. Where was it? Just come up here.
Indoor, where was it filmed? Outdoor, where was it filmed?
Come here. Let's go down. Just, come on. He won't bite you. Don't bite his head. Yeah. On the same studio, Universal Studios, the back lot had the exteriors of 1313. It was on Colonial Street, next to the Beaver House, and next to Marcus Welby, and next to the Valley. And the interior was on a brand new sound stage on stage 32. Monday was reading, Tuesday was rehearsals. Monday was reading, Tuesday was rehearsals, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday was filming, We did 39 weeks of filming. The first year, 31 the second year. The movie we did after the end of it was a 6-week shoot. And we did it on the back lot of Universal at Columbia Ranch, was where we did the car race.
Anybody else? No. There we go.
Butch, can you hear me?
Yeah, a little bit.
What was your favorite scene of the entire, of everything? Your favorite scene?
Favorite thing?
Scene.
Favorite scene. Favorite scene of anything you've done.
Everything I've done.
Right?
Thing?
Of the Munsters, the favorite scene.
Favorite scene
Scene
of
of
the
the
whole entire
Munsters. My favorite scene of the Munsters was, I really thought it was funny when we went to see Dr. Dudley when I had a beard. And the way Paul Lynn looked out, I saw Herman sitting there with me with my bag over my head and the beard sticking out. I thought that was hilarious. Because he didn't want to take me because people would look funny at him walking down the street with a boy with a bag over his head. And then he goes, oh my goodness, Mr. Munster had the guts to have a son.
Okay, here we go. You ready?
Yeah.
It's kind of neat on the internet. Now, you know, one of the most famous memes or whatever is you and Fred about it doesn't matter if you're
Yeah.
green or whatever. That's kind of neat to become an iconic part. And so and it gives a message that should live for the rest of eternity, but you guys did it back in the day.
Gets hundreds of millions of hits, especially in the atmosphere, and lately the atmosphere, everybody having issues with appearance and genders and this and that, and it's words to live by. Very basic stuff, but yeah, it gets a lot of attention every once in a while.
Very cool. Anybody else? Question? Way in the back. Love the hair. Love the hair. Question? When you became, when you got the part,
How much fun was it realizing who you were becoming?
How much fun was it?
Out here. How much fun was it?
how much fun was it realizing what you were becoming as Eddie Munster,
As a child.
as a child actor?
Fun?
Yeah, how much fun was it?
Well, I had a good time. I mean, when I first started acting, it was accidental. I just simply went for a photo shoot with my little sister. Guy took a picture of me, put it in his window on Hollywood Boulevard, and a couple weeks later, a producer was looking for a kid to play Eddie Albert and Jane Wyatt's son. Brenda Lee at 15 was my older sister. By the time the movie was over, I never had any experience. They hired me, and I told my mom, I said, what do I get out of the deal? And she goes, well, you don't have to go back to public school for like 8 weeks. I go, well, there you go. And I get money. She goes, well, you'll get money in 12 years. I go, okay. And it was fun to do. And then one thing led to another. I did a year of that in the first year General Hospital. I did the last year the Real McCoys, did the Munsters. Some of the highlights, I met some really good people, had a lot of fun, but I never took it seriously. I was never an actor. I was just a kid that had a knack for memorization and wasn't intimidated by the process.
Thank you, because that answers my question exactly, because I've always wondered that, because some actors, they get into the fame and they get through it and then they feel higher powered because they got through what they did. But then after that, some actors, they get through it, they work the job and everything else, and then they just keep going. They live their normal life and live it out.
Well, this goes back to me, I was never an actor. I was just a kid that when I was playing Little League, I happened to be in the studios. It was never going to be a career, never was. It was just always going to be a way to make money. I wanted to drive a funny car. You know, that's what I wanted. I wanted to be a drag racing, drive a funny car. That's all I ever wanted to do. Problem was, when I got to do that, I probably wouldn't have been able to do it, number one, because it takes a lot more balls than I had. And number two, I didn't have enough money. I could buy one, but I couldn't campaign it. You know, you could have one sitting in the living room, but take it out every week and spend $10,000. I didn't have it. So I kind of gave up on that real quick. But I never really looked at acting as a career. I looked at it as a fun way to do something a little different. I was impressed with the whole studio atmosphere. I liked going to work. I enjoyed seeing people behind the scenes. But it was never like a calling.
Thank you so much for that.
Excuse me?
Thank you so much.
It's interesting because to the rest of the world, you're this iconic figure. So it's kind of interesting that you don't lift yourself that way. I just think it's... No?
No, they don't, you know, nobody knows me and that's fine, but if I quickly Eddie Munster face somewhere, the world knows that character. So it's the best of both worlds. You can play it, you can use it when you want to, and you can stay away from it the rest of the time.
And Lidsville. Lidsville was another.
And Lidsville?
Lidsville was
That's the kookiest. Lidsville was a crazy summer. Summer of 71.
Do you still do any acting, or do you do any commercials, or are you still in the limelight at all?
I don't go. What happened with me, the reason I got out of acting was I got tired going on auditions. I thought, when do I possibly get to an echelon where you don't have to keep jumping through the hoops and you might get a script mailed to you occasionally? And that never happened. And it just so happened at the time I was in the last year of the lottery for Vietnam. I had a really low number. So when I went up for my induction physical, they found out that I had a bad knee. But before they found that out, I had to change the law. At the time when I was 18, you had to wait for 21 to get your money out of the bank. But when I was 19, I petitioned the courts and had that law changed. So I got my money, thought I was going to Vietnam, spent it all, and then I didn't go. So it was like I had a few bucks left over, but nothing like I thought I was going to have. And what I do is now I work. If they ask me to do an audition, or they ask me to send me a script, I don't mind working. I just don't like the process.
What's your career now?
My career now. I'm 70 years old. I'm retired. No. What I enjoy doing, I enjoy traveling. I enjoy hot rods. I know how to do media and marketing. I help a lot of people that, like, for instance, doing this is basically a marketing job. They pay me to be here, of course, and then I help them by doing radio and press and media. The Munsters, I'm very lucky that the Munsters has a really good, solid fan base. And people enjoy meeting me, and I enjoy meeting them. So I found a little bit of a niche. I own a Dragula, I own a Munster coach. I'm in a car club, and I'm a happy guy. I have sort of like a working retirement going. Thanks.
Dragula? Right out here.
The Munster coach. So there's Munster coach, Dragula. You don't have a Munster coach at this time.
The last Munster coach I had a few years ago was a Chevy a guy had built. I bought it from him. It was a really good, dependable workhorse, but it wasn't accurate. And my ex-wife entered into a contract to sell that behind my back. So what I did is not only did I get rid of the car, I got rid of her. She went with the car. Okay, good.
This is the part where you
So the
yeah.
deal is I actually have a new Munster coach being built. I got pictures of a brand new engine and the new carburetors. It'll be done at Christmas. It'll be as good as that is as the Dragula, and it'll be accurate, and it's going to be really bad. So I'm going to and now we build them for people. I've got the molds for the body, I got the molds for the coffin, I got the molds for the scoops, I got the molds for the tail lights. I can now build accurate Munster cars for people.
And do we know how many are out there of each right now?
Right now we have 2 orders pending.
Okay, but already built.
No,
They're out.
they take a year to build.
Okay.
And I only just finished, I don't even have mine built yet. I gotta have mine finished in Christmas. I'm the first one.
Of course. All right, next question. Anyone in the back?
Oh, he's got one right here. Oh, back there. That's okay.
You'll be next.
You're next.
Hey, Butch.
Yeah.
Couple questions. One, what is your opinion on this upcoming Munsters movie by Rob Zombie?
It's already out.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. That's how much I'm behind it. But what's your opinion on that? And then secondly, do you think the Munsters played so well in black and white?
Yeah.
Do you think one of the reasons that the show ended because they were afraid to go to color, having a full season of shows?
No, it just the timing factor. It just so happened that 1966 year was when black and white was falling off and color was coming in, and it just happened to time in with Batman. And Batman happened to be in really bright, vivid color, and Walt Disney's wonderful world of color was coming in. The timing just happened to be there. The Munsters was really popular in the first year. Second year, it's kind of slipped into the top 30, which is still not bad. But Fred and Al were New Yorkers who were transplanted in Los Angeles. I'm pretty sure they wanted to go home. Number 2, they were arguing about going to color to try to resurrect the show, because Batman was beating the crap out of us. So they go, well, if we go to color, you know, that'll be this and that'll be that. Well, nobody wanted to pay for it. The network didn't want to pay the 10 grand, and the producers didn't want to pay the 10 grand. So they came up with a solution of, let's do a movie in color. And we'll have a 2-year run. We did 70 episodes. We'll make the movie, we'll show the movie around the world, so the rest of the country and the rest of the world will know what the Munsters are, and then we can put it in a syndication and make money that way.
Yeah.
So I think that was really the combination. It was just a timing factor.
That was actually my question, is why your show ended, because your first 2 seasons were just, I mean, everybody loved it. It's like,
Yeah,
what's going on?
it's
Only
a
had 2
really,
seasons,
you know,
but I really enjoyed it.
I watch it myself, and I watch it for different reasons. And the original show, it's just really well done. It's got great sound, it's got great editing, it's got great sets. And yeah, we had the Westmore makeup, and yeah, we had great special effects. I mean, we had good talented guest stars, but it was well done from a technical standpoint. It took a lot of the Universal Frankenstein movies and utilized that look. The old 30s and 40s monster movies, it looked like it. It was really well done. And that's why it stands up so well, because of the quality. And it, you know, it's still funny. It's like me watching Jackie Gleason and the Honeymooners.
Right.
You know,
I watch the originals all the time.
I do too.
But do you feel like it's you that you're watching? I mean, like, you remember filming that scene?
No, it's a little gray area now. It's kind of like, you really remember Little League games, but it's like really good home movies, you know, back in the day. And you see it enough, and I answer a lot of questions a lot, so it never has really fallen by the wayside. It's sort of been in my think tank a lot.
Because you were between the age of what and what at the time? How old were you at that time?
11 and 12.
11 and 12. Next question, anyone? Right back here.
You said earlier that you work with a haunted house, or you're working with one. What is it?
What is it?
Which one?
It's called Creepy Works in Conway, Arkansas. The gentleman's been open 13 years, Dave Holzman. I was going to open one from scratch, and a friend of mine, my business associate down there, said, you should go talk to Dave because he's got 30 acres and he's been open. He's right a mile off the highway. And I went and told him that what I wanted to do, and he was really excited, and he welcomed me on his property. And I'm going to open up a big thing next to him, and I'm not going to charge any admission. And I'm going to help him draw I'm going to do there's 500 houses within about 20 miles, but I'm going to help him get a lot more people out there. And I'm in for the long game because we're going to build a haunted forest next year, a haunted hayride the year after that, and by the 5th year, we're going to have probably the biggest Arkansas haunted house.
Do you go to Transworld? Do you ever go to Transworld?
Shreveport?
No.
Transworld.
For the haunt convention?
No. Oh, the Transworld.
Transworld, yeah.
Yeah, I've been there many times.
Okay.
But cool, it's a cool place.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right, any other questions? Anyone? Now's your chance, right over here.
Hey, I was just curious if you ever thought about when you were back doing Munsters, if you thought it would have such a popularity that it's still popular in 2023.
Doing a new Munsters?
Did you think it'd be that popular today as it was then?
No one foresaw syndication. That's kind of the unique part of it, the wondrous part of it. You know, we didn't get rerun money back then because nobody had syndication. You made new shows every year. They just threw them away. But it's funny how syndication started. There was a station, I can't remember, I think it was in Detroit, and it went to dead air. And all of a sudden, it had nothing on the screen. And somebody ran in the vault and slapped up a rerun of All Things the Addams Family. And they started watching it. And the ratings, and people started calling it like, we want more of that. And they went, wow, this is weird. We've got this stuff. We don't even have to pay for this. And we can put it out there and sell ad time. And that's how they started syndication. It was out of necessity for dead air. And they said, we got something here. We got all these old shows that we own, and we can put them out there. These dummies out there, we'll watch them again, and we don't have to pay for them. That's how it started. But it all shows the Addams Family.
That's awesome.
Question.
How many cars do you have, and what are they?
Right now, I don't have a whole lot of cars. I basically got my diesel truck. I've got a little BMW convertible that just for sunny days. I'm buying a Jeep. I have my Munster coach. I have my Dragula. I have my chopper, and that's really about it right now.
A chopper?
Huh?
As in a helicopter chopper?
Chopper.
Oh, the chopper bike.
Chopper bike.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I can barely drive. I'm not going to try to buy a chopper.
All right, so in other words, there was no, you're not making money still to this day off of the Munsters from back then. What you got paid was it?
The only people that made money off of TV shows back in the day were like really powerful stars like Jackie Gleason, Fred McMurray for My Three Sons, Lucille Ball, obviously, Desi Lou. There was a few people that had the clout and Ozzie and Harriet, he owned his own shows. But other than that, you were pretty much, it was very much like the old days of baseball when before the free agency, they owned you. And they made the money, and you were happy with what, you know, when you signed a contract, you're going to honor it. And that's how it went. And it was very much like that. In baseball, the same way, and in the movies, the same way.
What about royalties, like on your image today? Because you still are Eddie Munster.
No, can't put the same contract, same situation. The only difference, the only saving grace that I have is I've owned Munsters.com for 30 years. I'm kind of a goodwill ambassador of the Munsters. I am sort of helping them. I sell licensed t-shirts, stuff that I have someone that's paid a license to them. I'm not out doing bootleg stuff. So the more I talk about it, the more I go out, and the more I don't wind up, doing something stupid and negative and tarnishing the reputation. We have a sort of a, nobody else can do it like that. They would be on somebody else's side. But because it's me, and Bela Lugosi Jr. won a lawsuit against Universal that he proved you could not tell where Dracula started and his father ended, or vice versa. And the same with Sarah Karloff, and the same with Lon Chaney. So they won a judgment that allowed the actor to have some rights to be able to use the character that they created. So what I do is I go about my business, and they kind of know what I do. But if I started making millions of dollars, they probably wouldn't put their share, and that would be okay. Because I would partner up with them and become business associates. Because 10%, giving them 10%, if you're making 10 times more money, we have that.
Most important question is Cubs or Cards? Cubs or Cards? Baseball.
Cubs?
Cubs or Cards?
Oh my goodness. Cubs.
Yay! Final chance, because we're going to give you a chance to get...
He cuts the check.
Yes. So if you guys want pictures on the red carpet, he'll do that real quick, and then he'll be over to his booth to sign stuff, and selfies are free, and get some autographs, and we'll wrap up the night. So thank you guys.
Thank you so